Okay, we continue back with part 3 of malware and intrusion chapter. One of the component in malware is payload. They call it as payload, which actually component of a computer malware that execute a malicious activity. The payload itself can become an attack agent. For example, here bots, a zombie and drone payload, which exploit by the attacker to secretly take over another machine or computer which attached on the internet and then launch or manage attack that are difficult to trace to bot creator. Mean the author of the bot itself will taken over the machine and then use that machine to launch another attack, which that attack are difficult to trace without a clear fingerprint. So the botnet is a collection of bots which often capable of acting in a coordinated manner, which can launch bigger scale of attack compared to only bot or small scale of zombie numbers of machine. If botnet become a victim or target, means a lot of resources can be utilized to launch new attacks to different target victim. So why they use bots? The bots or botnet normally they use for launching this distributed denial of service attack. Compared to denial of service attack, small scale machine or resources required mean the effect also will be uh, small or low risk of attack. But if they launch distributed denial of service attack, they can make a big damage, tremendous effect to the victims, especially for organization or the country infrastructure. Other than that, they can use to launch a spam. I mean, they can send some email using the affected machine by the bots, sniffing traffic, key logging, spreading new malware as well. And then they can install also advertisement, add-on and browser helper object, they call it BHO lah. And then IRC network attacks also can manipulate online polls or games. For example, they want looks or get different result of polls. They can attack numbers of PC or machine in the net which actually has different MAC address, different IP address, then answering the polls which represent what the attacker intended. This is another uh, purpose of bots, how they use the bots. And then they have remote control facility. So how they distinguish bot from a worm? Worm don't have remote control because it propagates itself and activates itself, whereas a bot is controlled from someone's central facility. Maybe later I can show you example of previous attack which has connection, mean they have the bots and then the bot itself will communicate with their control server. The attacker control it. They can instruct the machine, affected machine, to do specific type of attacks to another target victim. Typical means oriented on IRC server normally. More recent botnet use covered communication channel via protocols such as HTTP and so on. Because HTTP is normally enabled by most of the user, so that can be easily uh, affected. If they're using a different protocol, maybe that kind of protocol is not allowed by the firewall, so it's difficult to penetrate. And then distribute control mechanism using peer-to-peer protocol as well. are also used to avoid single point of failure. Mean here, some uh, bots authored, they didn't use single mechanism or single communication line. They use distributed control mechanism, which if one of their server fail to communicate or to launch an attack or to communicate with the bot machine, they have another channel. They call it as single point of failure protection. But it's for illegal purpose. They have redundant communication line. They have also multiple machine and so on. Once communication path is established between the control modules and the bots, the control module can activate the bots. All the codes already there. They just need to execute it based on their intention or intended uh, behavior. When they manage to communicate with the victims, they can also use issue and update command that instruct the bot to download a file from some internet location and execute it. This type of attack normally more complex. They have variant. It look like our COVID-19. They got variant, right? This type of attack also they got variant. They got their own mutation and so on. So they can update the instruction based on the condition, based on the situation and so on. Other than that, the payload also can be used as information theft. For example, the keylogger payload, which capture keystroke on the infected machine to allow an attacker to monitor user login and password credential. Normally, keylogger will capture uh, the input from our keyboard. If smartphone, they will take from your virtual keyboard as well. So normally they will look for password and user login. Other than that, using as a spyware. This developed in response to effort to try and stop key logging, subvert the compromised machine to allow monitoring of wide range of activity, not only the input by the keyboard, but more than that, wide range of activity, which can result in significant compromising the user personal information and other type of file in the machine. Other than that, they have phishing, which exploits social engineering. You know how the phishing work, right? Just get user trust, spread it, and get what they want. And then they got CPF phishing as well, which an email came in to be from trusted sources, such as from the HR, bank, and so on. But it's from attacker. They are carefully crafted to suit if recipient specifically. Normally, they have uh, obtained specific information, and then they also specifically crafted based on the user behavior. Then we have payload as a stealthing mechanism, stealthing malware like backdoor, also known as trapdoor. Normally, this kind of payload is not aware by the user, so it's secret entry point into program that allows someone who is aware of the backdoor to gain access without going through the user security access procedure. Without normal credential authorization, authentication and authorization, they can log in. Okay. Normally, implemented as a network service listening on some standard port that the attacker can connect and issue command like telnet and so on. Other stealthing payload I discussed earlier about Rootkit, right? Which is a set of program installed on the system maintain covered check access to the system with administrator or root privilege. At the same time, they hide the evidence of its present to the greatest extent possible. So as long as they are there, but the user not aware, they got their own mechanism to hide themselves in terms of process hiding, in terms of password hiding, and so on. They do it by altering the host standards functionality in malicious and stealthy way without aware by the victims. So that if they have this kind of access, like the system admin or root access, attacker can has complete control. Then they can add on, they can modify, they can do many things. Can create new user, for example. This is how the rootkit work. At the same time, they can manage antivirus, all the security solution as well. So the security solution don't leave any trigger or any alarm for that rootkit exists. So rootkit can be classified using this characteristic. First, about the persistent, which activates each time the system boots. They're still there. They didn't uh, delete themselves. They're still there. Although the system or the operating system boot or restart. Memory base, they got memory base has no persistent code and therefore cannot survive a reboot. Mean only can work while it's infected, still running the operating system because it's a volatile modes. So that when you restart the machine or the server, this type of rootkit will be uh, gone also because no persistent code. They just work in the memory modes. Then they have user mode. Intercept call to application program interface and modify its return result. This is in application level normally. User mode. Compared to kernel mode, user mode normally easier to detect compared to kernel mode. This one another type of rootkit is kernel mode rootkit. This can intercept call to native API in the kernel modes, which require low-level detection method, operating system kernel, not the application level. Now sometimes they call it ring 0, ring 1. Okay, virtual machine base is lower than kernel mode. On top of virtual machine is operating system, right? Which has kernel, but virtual machine is lower than this. Install a lightweight virtual machine, monitor, and then run the operating system in the virtual machine above it. So the affected the virtual machine manager itself, VMM, like your VirtualBox or VMware, but and then they can affected the OS on top of the OS that you install on top of the VMM. And lastly, they have external mode rootkit, which considered as malware is located outside the normal operation mode of the targeted system in BIOS or system management mode where it can directly access hardware. This normally hardware based. Last time, I think during 2010, they already have the proof of concept this kind of hardware based rootkit. Okay, that's all for part 3. We will continue again in part 4.